Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about whatever happened to direct-to-DVD movies. Now, for years and years we had big staples of direct-to-DVD like Steven Seagal. Now, we can all say what we will about Steven Seagal these days, but back in that day, he was the king of direct-to-DVD. And then you had people on movies now who really relay that kind of messaging. Like, the guy who really stands out as someone who would be a killer in release direct-to-DVD is Liam Neeson, because he understands the template of what a direct-to-DVD would be. Now, these big budget movies, and maybe they're not big budget, but these kind of are reminiscent of direct-to-DVD, these kind of movies. But, back in the day, you'd have like B-grade movies that were clearly meant to do well on DVD, like Epic Movie. I like this movie. I think it was good. It was very much bigger on DVD than it was at the cinemas, I would say. Because, yes, you can go and watch it in the cinemas, but it was an absolute gem when you saw it at home, and you could just giggle and have a little bit of fun, have it on the background noise, or kick back and have a relax. But that's the whole point of direct-to-DVD. It wasn't meant to be like the big budget of Hollywood. It was meant to be what you watch when you don't want to go to the cinemas. And then you have all these sequels, the unnecessary sequels, like Carlito's Way 2 and stuff like that, where it's just like, oh, we'll do a sequel, but we'll do it direct-to-DVD because we know we're not going to get a big audience going to see it because we don't have Al Pacino. So we'll put Diddy in there. I think people forget that. I think it's Carlito's Way number 2. Was it Diddy that was in there? I'm positive it was Diddy. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, all these kind of movies that were direct to DVD and, you know, might not have got a big budget. I don't know if this was direct to DVD, but it seems like something that would have done better in the DVD age. Selena, about the singer Selena, obviously Jennifer Lopez playing her, died a long time back. I think she was killed by someone, I'm positive. But yeah, I don't know if that was direct to DVD. I'm sure that was released theatrically, but I'd have to assume something like that would do well on DVD if it was released today. Obviously, you're doing a biopic. We know about the Smashing Machine or whatever, the Rock's latest movie. That screams direct to DVD to me. Like, I get there's a UFC audience and the mixed martial arts audience, but I don't know if anyone knows who that fella is. I don't watch enough UFC to understand who that person is. And I know a lot of the players. I do understand when I hear a name, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the UFC guy. Yeah, I know that. But the one they picked for The Rock to play, like, this guy was around at the Shamrock era. I don't know enough about him to know, like, care about that. Now, you might say, oh, but, the wrestler did really well. The wrestler was a fictional take with mixed in characters like Ric Flair, with mixed in characters like the Iron Sheik, with mixed in characters like Roddy Piper. So the wrestler was a combination of many different people. It was not a one-to-one take of what someone went through. Now you might say Bohemian Rhapsody did well. Freddie Mercury was a megastar whose music still lives on today. You talk about all these biopics and you look at them like, okay, what about The Green Book and what about stuff like that? People don't know them before they go into them. But yes, you go to get educated. But I think the niche market of mixed martial arts, what I've seen with my analytics as well, is people don't care when I make the wrestling videos. When I'm holding up wrestling belts and saying wrestling's done for this and Jey Uso never should have got that title. He never should have got that title shot, by the way. That should have been LA Knight that got that title shot. Anyways, enough about WWE. But I'm wearing a Roman Reigns shirt when I say that. I know it's ironic. But yeah, what I'm saying is that I understand that it's a niche market, and it's even niche when you're talking about a mixed martial artist from 30 odd years ago who was not there during. I mean, yes, there's a peak in mixed martial arts now, but it wasn't like if you make a Brock Lesnar movie. I don't know how you do that with everything against him, but you can make a Brock Lesnar movie. You could make a Ken Shamrock movie, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I remember him during the Attitude Era. I want to watch that." But still, it's a niche market. So when you start talking about direct to DVD, when you start looking at movies like I think this might have been a direct to, if I can get it out. I know I've got this on Blu-ray as well somewhere, but I'm not getting the Blu-ray. 1 Hour Photo was very much a direct to DVD movie. Now, yes, it did come out at cinemas. I'm not saying these didn't come out at cinemas. I'm just saying when you start looking at this was big in the rental days. This was big during times when you'd go to the video store and say like, oh yeah, I didn't go watch that one, but yeah, I'll rent that one because I've went and seen King Kong or whatever at the box office. So I'll watch 1 Hour Photo. I'll get that as a nice little contrast to what everything else I get. Direct to DVD really had a market, and I think direct to DVD should have survived. Now, given it's a modern age, not everyone's going to invest a big budget in everything. But still, with stuff like Paranormal Activity, The Blair Witch Project, Clerks, It shows you don't need a big budget to do those sort of movies. I think what needs to happen is they need to bring back some sort of market of without documentary, because everything's like true crime these days. Everything's like, let's just make Ed Gein, let's just make all these. Yes, it's cool, but I think Terrifier also has a low budget. I don't know, you might have to check me on that one, but does Terrifier have a low budget? I've heard a lot about its budgets throughout the years, and I've heard that, yeah, it's not as big as everything else, but that's kind of what makes it appealing. So, like, they need to bring back this template of not relying so heavily on the budget of movies. Yes, if you pay The Rock, The Rock took a pay cut to make sure he's, who was in the movie with him? I heard something about his female lead or where someone was in the movie with him and he took a pay cut so she could get paid more. But realistically, I don't understand, like, that movie was always destined to fail. The Smashing Machine was always destined to fail because it's a made-for-DVD movie in the modern age of streaming. Now, I think the Smashing Machine might be a big movie when it comes to streaming. I think if a Netflix plays for it and says, you know what, I think this market would sell. With wrestling on Netflix, I think people will watch this movie. Or sell it to whoever has the UFC at the moment. Who has the UFC rights? I know there's not an Ultimate Fighter anymore, but, like, who has that sort of market? Why didn't they make a Kimbo Slice one? Imagine if they made a Kimbo Slice biopic, played by The Rock. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, people know Kimbo Slice. Why did they go for this Mark fella? I don't know who he is. And I know people will say, oh, well, that's just insensitive. Like, you don't know who he is, but I know who he is. I was watching it back in 1993. Well, good for you. The average person doesn't know who this person is unless The Rock says, I play this person. Now, you might be a hardcore UFC person and you've done all your research and you know all the names, but the average consumer does not know who that person is. Direct-to-DVD movies would have helped that movie. And I think what happens when you take away the aspect of like straight to DVD, like the era it was coming from, you really start to lose kind of the essence of what made the movies so iconic. It was not meant to be a big budget movie. It was not meant to be something that you would rent. Like even The Wrestler. The Wrestler, I'm sure, did well at the box office. I don't know about its exact box office numbers, but I'm almost certain it did bigger at the rental days, like the last days of the rental, when you'd go into your Video Easy or Blockbuster and you'd rent The Wrestler and you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to watch this one, but I'm also going to rent Jurassic World, or I'm also going to rent, I don't know, the latest Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man. You'd rent it as contrast, and it wouldn't be the sole focus of the movie you're going to see, but it's a big ask to say, oh, come to the cinema and watch The Smashing Machine. And for reference, yes, I haven't seen it, because I just don't know who the person is that The Rock's playing, and I will watch it when it comes to streaming. This is what I'm saying. Like, if it was on Blu-ray, I would have bought it on Blu-ray or whatever, but, you know, that's what I'm trying to say. There needs to be some layer here. There needs to be some sort of, this movie would have worked well as a streaming option. Why didn't they make it as an HBO original? Why didn't they make it as, like, a Netflix original? I just don't understand, like, it's good to have a theatrical release, don't get me wrong, I love when a theatrical release comes out, but that movie was destined to fail. From the start. Before The Rock even signed the contract. Because it's a fighter that not a lot of people know. It's a fighter that was around during the early days of mixed martial arts. But if you're talking mixed martial arts back in that era, you could even go back a couple more, like a decade or so, and do a Chuck Norris biopic, you know? You could do stuff like that. So I just don't get why. I think the makeup from what I've seen is very great from what I've seen with The Rock. But it's a big ask to ask people to come to a cinema, watch this movie for 2 hours, and whatever. When they don't know who the person is and they don't know, like. And The Rock is. Look, The Rock has been going through a PR kind of nightmare at the moment with everything going on with him with WrestleManias and. Can he fix, like, you know, when he would put himself into the main event of WrestleMania and all this other stuff with Cody. The Rock and Hawaii as well. There's been a lot of PR thing around The Rock in the past couple of years. He's not the box office sensation as he once was. Now, he does earn a lot of money at the box office. I'm not saying he's not a box office winner. I'm just saying, in a movie like this, I don't see how people who would be like, oh, I want to see a Rock in an action picture. I don't want to see him play at someone. I want to see him save the day in a helicopter like Arnold Schwarzenegger used to back in the day. And don't get me wrong, I only did different movies back in the day. Like, what's the one, the Christmas movie? I forget what it was, where he has to find the action figure. I forget what it was called. Was it Jingle All the Way? Was that the one? Am I getting it wrong? I'm positive I have it in the collection. I'm positive it's Jingle All the Way. Oh, and even Kindergarten Cop. I don't know if I have Jingle All the Way here, but I definitely have Kindergarten Cop. Arnie did kind of light-hearted takes back in the day. But everyone knew you wanted to see Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you were going to see Arnie, you wanted to see Terminator. You know, you wanted to see that. You wanted to see True Lies. You'd go and see Kindergarten Cop as like, oh, well, I might as well see this one while I'm there or whatever. But it was never the focus of going to the cinema. Unless it was the holiday periods, then you would do that. But let me know what you think, guys. I'm just ranting here. Do you guys agree? Do you not agree? Let me know. Jump down in the comments, let me know, and I will catch you in the next one. Daily videos. Yay!